Hello everybody, I'm back with another video for you today, and there's a bunch more reveals to talk about. They're coming out really fast now, and we're getting some more powerful cards here and there, some golds, and I think it looks like things are ramping up quite a bit before, you know, World Masters in a couple of weeks, and the expansion, of course. So, let's get right into it. Impressions and thoughts, as always. So first card here, we have Geralt Quen. The final Witcher sign to be introduced, so that's about time. Another Geralt card for my all Geralt deck that I'll probably remake and, you know, try out with all the Witcher support that's now there. Maybe with Vesemir and other things like that. But here we've got, yeah, Geralt and 2 strength, 10 provisions, shield, deploy, play a Witcher from your deck, adrenaline 3, give it shield. Not the best ability, sort of, you know, tutor, pretty fairly costed. 8 provisions for that tutoring effect, similar to Alza's Double Cross and Marching Orders, so that's kind of okay, like playable-ish, but not, you know, not going to be very competitive a lot of the time. For the most part, yeah, that's about it. Aneromancy is probably better. You could, I guess, still play Royal Decree, but this would be better than Royal Decree probably if you're going to run that card. But yeah, Aneromancy and things like Amphibious Assault, whatever, often going to outshine this, I think. The one time this could be good is with, you know, Witchers which damage themselves, which we'll, you know, get to talking about, but that could work with, you know, even the Bear Witcher that's already been revealed, right? The Bear Witcher Adept, is it? Which damages itself by 3, or 4, yeah, damages itself by 4. So you could avoid that damage with Geralt Quen here, with that adrenaline ability. Do have to play it late in the round though to get that. But maybe there's other Witchers that benefit from, you know, having a shield, maybe that are self-damaging themselves. We've got another one here, which I'll be talking about in a second, but yeah, seems kind of... Again, a lot of the cards in this expansion so far seem very fair and sort of on the lower side of the power curve, you know, like they're kind of playable-ish, but a lot of the time that's not going to be good enough to see play in the mainstream decks, I would say. Anyway, let's jump into the next card. Viper Witcher Mentor. For Nilfgaard, 1 strength, 6 provisions, and deploy, set power of this card to match provision cost of the top card in your opponent's deck, and adrenaline 2, so if it's one of your, you know, last 3 plays, set power of this card to match provision cost of the highest cost card in opponent's deck. So kind of, you know, you can set this up maybe earlier in the game, and if it's later in the game, you're just going to get that unconditional effect of if the opponent has a big card left in their deck, this Viper Witch is gonna match that in power, kind of, at least in strength, relative to provision cost. How good is this card? Well, 6 provision cards are usually not great. They have to be something very special to be included, because it's just you tend to want to polarize your provision cost in, you know, provision cost cards in decks, you know, so that you can, how should I put it? Make sure that you get as much value from the cards you're drawing from your mulligans, you know, get rid of bad cards, get good cards. 6 provision card, it's not an amazing card, but it's not a card you necessarily want to mulligan, so it's a bit of a weird spot. So I would say this is just inherently bad, because it's a 6 provision card that doesn't seem that amazing. The effect, I guess, could be okay in some niche situations, but for the most part I think it's going to be quite hard to see this getting a lot of value, especially even with that adrenaline effect. Yeah, that's quite powerful if the opponent has a high provision card left, but a lot of the time that's not going to be the case against, you know, optimized decks which can thin out a lot of their powerful cards or just draw them and, you know, have played them all by that stage. So predicting this one to be quite an unplayable card, not super great, but, you know, you can throw it in some decks which are messing around with the deck manipulation stuff and it'll get value. Like, it won't be awful, it just won't be like super competitive, you know. Okay, next up we've got Bear Witcher. This is one of the cards that could synergize with Geralt Quen. 8 strength for 5, deploy, damage self by 3, adrenaline 4, damage self and an enemy unit by 3 instead. So you can see that self damage could be good with the shield from Quen to get just an 8 for 5, or is it even better than that? Gosh, it's even better than that. It's an 11 for 5 if you use it with the Geralt Quen, get a shield. Yeah, 8 strength, dealing 3 damage to an enemy. that's pretty powerful, I'm not going to lie, guys. I think if Geralt Quen would be played, it would be in a deck that's maybe using Bear Witches and maybe a couple of other Witches that are decent, maybe some more Skellige Witches that we'll talk about. But yeah, this card I think is very, very good. Might even be the best bronze we've seen, which is funny because I mentioned that the Skellige bronze we last saw was pretty damn good, the Bear Witcher Adept. And the Bear Witcher itself is just really, really good, I think. Adrenaline 4 is when you're going to want to play this a lot of the time, just for that clean 8 for 5. You then get a damaged body as well, which can be, you know, buffed with Battle Trance or, you know, any of the Skellige cards. So I think that's just pretty great value, honestly. 8 for 5 is not bad, and I think you could try to fit this in Battle Trance decks reasonably well. I'm not going to say it's going to be auto-include, because, you know, 8 for 5 these days isn't even that crazy if it doesn't synergize too well with your deck, but I do think this card's pretty good. Definitely will see some play. Next we've got Idir. It's a little bit too, yeah, we'll zoom out for this one. Order, Adrenaline 3 and 7 for 8, I should say. Consume all tokens on this row and gain immunity. Whenever you consume one or more units, spawn a drone on this row. So this card might seem better than it actually is, because the value that you get as an engine from it is only whenever you consume one or more units. So it's not going to count every single unit that you consume, unlike something like Glusty Warp. And for that reason, this is, you know, probably not a great card. It's going to be basically an 8 for 8 within its own order effect, consuming all the tokens and gaining immunity. Yeah, immunity on top of that, but I don't think this card's going to be particularly great. I mean, of course you can get that engine if you're consuming a lot, and you can then gain immunity towards the end of the round. Potentially it could be okay. I don't know. Seems a bit of a weird one, and I'm not really sure it needs adrenaline on that order effect. Like, I think that's just a bit of a pointless limitation to put on it. It means, you know, I mean, it's just a bit irrelevant, isn't it? Just penalizes you for playing it late in the round, I guess. Or rather, for playing it earlier in the round when you should, because it's an engine card, but you get what I mean. Just a bit of a weird card, and yeah, 8 for 8 a lot of the time, but I guess it can be more if you do a big consume deck, but I just don't really see it being that great. But, you know, they're really pushing insectoids, I guess, this expansion, as if that was like a proper archetype. I guess with Arrakis Queen leader, Glusty Warp and stuff, maybe you can make something happen, but yeah, a little bit of an underwhelming card, I think. Next we've got Junod, I don't know how to pronounce that, of Belhaven, who is basically old Vabiorn coming back into the game, so that's not too exciting as a card. We've seen this already, it wasn't very good. It was a little bit too difficult to set up, at least in the past. Maybe that could change now. But he's a 6 for 9, destroy a damaged enemy unit. He is a Witcher, so that's maybe better than a warrior? Probably not. I think being a warrior is generally a better thing than being a Witcher. So I guess this card won't really be played too much. Maybe the meta's changed now such that it could be okay, but I don't think so. Nah, not really seeing it. Vabiorn was never very good. I don't think this will be either. That's about it. Bit of a boring one because we're just getting recycled effects, and we got Vabiorn removed for some dumb tutoring effect that we already had many examples of. Mini rant, but whatever. Let's go to the next card. Griffin Witcher Mentor for Northern Realms. 5 for 5. Draw the top unit, then shuffle a card back to your deck. Adrenaline 4 boosts the unit you've drawn by 2. Pretty interesting card. I mean, that's not bad carryover, honestly. A little bit carryover from a Northern Realms card. This is a bizarre card because it feels like it's taking things from scoia'tel and Nilfgaard and just saying, that's mine now. I'm gonna do that. It has not really any synergy with the Griffin Witcher Adept. It's a thing. It's a very strange card. I don't really know how to evaluate this. I guess it's okay if you get that adrenaline effect off. You can get some carryover. Might actually be a pretty decent card in that case. But it's hard to say what deck you'd fit this in. I guess you can just play it with engines and you know, boost an engine by 2 potentially, or an Ansays or whatever. Maybe you see that as a one-off or something in certain NR decks. I guess I could see it. Doesn't seem too terrible as a card, but yeah. Bit of a strange one, kind of stealing from other factions, I guess, and doesn't feel like it particularly fits Northern Realms and the theme that they've got going this expansion, but whatever. Bit of a weird card. Next we got Berengar. A lot of people complaining about the card art. I do understand that complaint, it looks a bit funky, but either way, it's a 9 for 6. Witcher at the end of your turn, destroy this card if it's the only Witcher on this row. Bit of a bland ability, again another 6 provision card, probably not going to be playable. It's also just very weak to a lot of things, even if you play a full Witcher deck. I mean, you might fit this in a full Witcher deck for your memes and for your fun times, right? But yeah, you can even just move this guy, right? And if all your Witchers are in one row, well, he's dead. He's playing into tool removal. I don't know, it's just a bit of a kind of crappy card, I think. Yeah, maybe in full Witcher decks you can throw this guy in for a little bit of point slam action, but yeah, not much more to say about that. It's kind of a bit average, a bit below average in terms of power level, I guess, overall. Next we've got a huge Stolen Mutagens, which is a Syndicate card. Another one of these, you know, we've got Spontaneous Evolution for monsters. This is Syndicate's version. Pick a mutagen, red, damage an enemy unit by 4, blue, poison an allied unit and gain 5 coins, green, boost an allied unit by 4 and give it Veil if you control at least 3 salamandra units, profit 3. So we'll really have to see how good the versatility on these kind of cards is, because at max it's a 7 for 5, and that's if you have 3 salamandra units, which at the moment is quite a big condition. Seems like a lot of salamandra units are being introduced in this expansion, but it's kind of hard to get that many going, you know, at least for Syndicate currently. So yeah, if you get 7 for 5 consistently, that's pretty decent. Otherwise, the self-poison for 5, I guess, is okay in a self-poison deck. I don't know. And then 4 damage. Having the versatility on that might be okay, might be nice. Deal with an engine or something, but we'll see. I think a lot of people are like thinking this card is maybe better than it actually will be. It is a crime, which is relevant for potentially intimidate stuff and lined pockets, but yeah. I don't know. It's an okay card, I think. It's okay, but I wouldn't be too surprised if it actually didn't see too much play. But likewise, maybe the versatility is very nice. And if you're playing self-poison, I could see this being a thing, but I don't think self-poison will be very good. And if that's the case, then I don't think this card will be played. So yeah, I'm predicting this one's not going to be very good, actually, despite being quite flexible. Alright. Next we have Ivar Evil-Eye, 4 for 10 Nilfgaard card. We actually have a good card for Nilfgaard. What a surprise. What a pleasant surprise. This is pretty powerful. Swap Ivar's power with an enemy unit and Adrenaline 2, damage an enemy unit by 4 instead. So capped at, you know, going to be worst case 8 for 10 pretty much. And that's also basically stopping you from stealing the strength of a big unit very late on in the game. You know, you can't really deny the opponent's finisher with this, so that's interesting. Kind of able to punish some earlier, you know, big unit plays by the opponent, particularly maybe round 1. You know, thinking tactical advantage, any greedy engine. This can swap the strength and get a ton of value. So way to look at it is, you know, basically whatever strength the opponent has, you know, subtract 4 from that and then double it and add that to 4 again. So yeah, that will get you how much he's worth. So 7 strength unit, that's breaking even 10 for 10 if you swap. 10 strength unit, 16 for 10. 20 strength unit, I don't think I need to say any more. That's really bonkers if you can get that going. Really, really powerful. Kind of like a Regis Higher Vampire with no downside, with no real condition. Even an 8 for 10 minimum. So definitely a good card, I think. And yeah, we'll see some play. Kind of hard to say whether it will like carry Nilfgaard on its own. I don't think it will. And it might be, you know, fairly easy to play around if you're up against Nilfgaard. So those are the drawbacks, I guess. well, the first one isn't really a drawback, it's more just, will this be enough for Nilfgaard? Probably not, but we'll see what else they get. Yeah, pretty good card. Actually one of the better cards that we've been shown here, I think. And lastly we have Koshchey, which is a monster card, 4 for 10, 3 armor. Thrive, whenever this unit's Thrive is triggered, spawn a drone on this row. Adrenaline 4, whenever this unit's Thrive is triggered, spawn an Endrega Lava on this row instead. So, able to produce more engines, more lava, more thriving units. Pretty cool effect. Will this be good though? Well, it's kind of hard these days to do instant Thrive stuff. You can play this with Caranthea, that could be quite strong. You know, in a similar fashion to Kikimor Queen, and just sort of instantly thrive up, get some value going, you know. Definitely it's a lot better when you're getting those Endrega Lavas on the row, but it's not terrible just spawning drones because you're getting effectively 2 points of Thrive, and it's not making the unit bigger when the drones spawn, so pretty good actually, pretty good. The one downside here is going to be is it getting removed, you know. 4 for 3, you can thrive it up once probably, or twice potentially, so it's going to be 8 strength. Can the opponent like kill it in 2 turns? To be honest guys, even if they do that, this is getting pretty good value, right? It's going to spawn a guy, so you're getting like at least 10 points basically if they kill it in 2 turns. So it's 10 for 10 if they kill it in 2 turns. If they kill it in 1, then it trades evenly with Heatwave and it trades down to Becca's slightly. I think this card's pretty good. This is a pretty powerful card. If it doesn't get answered, it's just nutty, and it's just a bit of a pain to deal with. Unlike Kikimor Queen, it doesn't really require any setup, any synergy in your deck. You can just play this and it's gonna thrive up and be good a lot of the time. You can play it with Kikimor Queen if you want to, you know, have double synergy going on with all the insectoids, and maybe Kikimor Queen will actually make a comeback. With all these Thrive engines and just playing a lot of those insectoids, and yeah, making it very hard to deal with all those high strength thriving engines, which are getting a ton of points. I do like the design of this card, and I think it's, yeah, seems pretty decent, pretty playable. Yeah, maybe even strong the more I think about it, maybe even very strong. Can play it early in the round and just farm the value out of this potentially if you know, opponent's not too removal heavy. Alright, that's going to wrap it up. A lot of new cards, some really decent ones, you know, a few standouts and a few kind of less powerful cards, I guess, should we say. That's to be expected. Highs and lows, of course. Sorry if I'm like a bit weird, I'm like really low on sleep today, like really low on sleep, so if something's off about how I'm talking or how I look or anything, that's why. But either way, thanks a lot for watching, guys. You know, hope you're looking forward to the next card session, of course the expansion itself. Do subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.